allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Most of you probably remember saying this in grade school every day, just as I do. I remember learning it in kindergarten and never forgetting it. Saying it every day became a ritual, and it isn't until now that I realized how much I took it for granted. I didn't realize that reciting this seemingly boring 31-word pledge was the only time in my school day that God would be integrated. The way our government has misinterpreted the First Amendment of our Constitution has negatively affected the way our public school system is run. And with the correct interpretation of this amendment, our school system would be affected in a positive way. Today, I will discuss how the First Amendment has been misinterpreted, the way the misinterpretations have affected the way our school system is run, and the differences we would see in our schools if the First Amendment were interpreted correctly. I'll begin by analyzing the First Amendment and the way it is interpreted in our government today. According to the Bill of Rights page in the United States Constitution section of the Cornell University Law School website, the First Amendment of our Constitution states, "Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances." The first thing I noticed when reading the First Amendment is that the words separation of church and state are nowhere to be found. When referring to the rights under this amendment, many people cite this separation of church and state, but don't know where it comes from. Most people don't know that these words come from a letter that Thomas Jefferson wrote in 1802 to the Danbury Baptist. I located the full letter in the Library of Congress website and will share with you the part commonly referenced. "I contemplate with sovereign reverence the act of the whole American people, which declared that their legislator should make no laws respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, thus building a wall of separation between the church and state." The government and many citizens have warped the First Amendment and the separation of church and state into laws that allow the government to intrude on people's rights. The wall that Jefferson mentioned was not intended to place limits on the citizens, but rather to place limits on the government. In a video posted on June 13th on CBS.com, where the 2012 GOP candidates defined separation of church and state, Tim Pawlenty, former governor of Minnesota, states, "The protections between the separation of church and state were designed to protect the people of faith from the government, not the government from the people of faith." This statement explains clearly how the First Amendment has been misinterpreted. Next, we'll look at how the misinterpretation has affected our public school system. First, the teachers have been affected. As a future teacher, I feel that my rights have been infringed on and that I can't teach my students to my full potential. As soon as I become a public school official, all of my rights are taken away. The page of guidance on constitutionally protected prayer in public elementary and secondary schools on the Department of Education website is a helpful source of information when analyzing my freedoms and lack thereof. This source states that where school officials determine or substantially control the content of what is expressed, such speech is attributable to the school and may not include prayer or other specifically religious or anti-religious content. And when acting in their official capacities as representatives of the state, teachers, school administrators, and other school officials are prohibited by the Establishment Clause from encouraging or discouraging prayer and from actively participating in any such activity with students. By making these laws, my career is being affected, and I am not able to impact the students the way that I would like to. Secondly, the students are being impacted. The students spend 8 hours a day here for 13 years of their lives, and to be placed in this environment and not be able to be influenced by Christian people and have their teachers speak life into them through the Word of God, we are harming our students. From the beginning, we were founded under God, so why is our public school system not living this way? Our students are being deprived of their relationship with Christ while they're at school because they spend their majority of time here and it is not being instilled in them. Without getting encouragement from their teachers whenever they're going through something like a test, they are being encouraged to study harder rather than praying that God will handle it. And this is teaching them something that won't help them the rest of their lives. They're not being taught to rely on Him, and this is not what Thomas Jefferson a Christian himself intended to do with his statement, nor what Madison intended to do with writing the First Amendment. Finally, let's determine what our school system would look like if the First Amendment were interpreted correctly. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, states the First Amendment. This means there would be no laws restricting the government officials or the students to express their religious beliefs in the school system. The wall of separation between church and state would become a protection of people rather than a protection of the government. The students would be more aware of their freedoms. They would be able to learn about the Constitution and believe in their freedoms rather than just seeing it as a historical document that isn't present in their lives today. They would be able to find identity in school rather than just learning and advancing their intelligence. The teachers would be able to teach with more freedom. They would be able to become more than just content teachers, but more like mentors. And they would seek to continue building this nation under God as it was intended. In conclusion, our public schools would be much different if they were run under God as they were intended. The way that our government misinterpreted the First Amendment of our Constitution has negatively affected the way our public school system is run, and with the correct interpretation of this amendment, our school systems would be affected in a positive way. Our school system is where the majority of us were raised and where the majority of our students will be raised. Therefore, it is essential in our lives. We must all be aware of our rights and the laws of our community. We hear about them all the time. Do we ever look into them? Taking the time to look into them and interpret them can make a difference on all of our beliefs. Looking back, I thank God for the few times He was integrated into my school experience. Every day during the pledge, my experience saying the prayer before graduation, and especially the times the teachers broke the law to instill Christ in me. Now that I know what I know now, I will say it loud and proud. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.